Hi there, hello. I'm Debbie Skyrme, and my business is Celebrant Spain. I am here to answer a question that is often asked of me. That is, what is the difference between a marriage and a wedding? And who am I to answer this question? Well, I, back in 2005, became a registrar of births, deaths and marriages. I was a Deputy Superintendent Registrar in the UK. These days I am an independent celebrant overseas in Spain. So I have seen both sides of the coin and I can answer quite knowledgeably with regards to the UK and certain destination wedding locations. So the difference between a marriage and a wedding. When I was a registrar, I registered births, deaths and marriages in a register. I recorded legally what had happened. So, for example, when a baby was born, I recorded in the register the name of that baby. But we didn't have all the family coming into the register office and celebrating their baptism or christening or baby naming all at the same time. No, the registration of the baby and the celebration of the naming of the baby were two separate things. This is the same for marriages and weddings. The marriage is the legal part, the wedding is the ceremonial part. Same with deaths. As a registrar, a family would come in to register and record the death of a loved one. That was the contracted legality. At the same time, they didn't bring all the family in and all their friends in and start performing the wake or the funeral or the celebration of life in the register office. It was all separate at a later date when they were ready to have the ceremonial recognition of that person's life and their passing. It's the same with a marriage and a wedding. The marriage is the contracted legality and the wedding is the ceremonial part. So the confusion lies from a lot of religious marriages and weddings in the past where the marriage and the wedding were all kind of mixed up as one. So a religious minister, for example, would hold a register in the same way that a registrar holds a register, and they would envelop contracting the marriage with a ceremonial religious ceremony. The wedding. Nowadays, you can separate the two. So if you want to, you can go and see your registrar, contract your marriage legally, and then at a separate date, you can have your wedding ceremony. Your wedding ceremony might be at a local venue and location, or it might be overseas. This is your choice. Nowadays, you have more options. So the difference between a marriage and a wedding is one is the contracted legality and the other is the ceremonial celebration. They can be separate. Okay, registrars and celebrants. What's the difference there? In the UK, the registrar holds legal recognition and is the person who holds the register and is the person who contracts your marriage. The celebrant does not hold a register. The celebrant will not be able to perform a legal marriage. What they will be doing is they will be performing a symbolic wedding celebration. It could be that you want your wedding ceremony to look, sound and feel very similar to your contracted marriage. You might want the contracting words, the declaratory words. That's great. You can have them all included in there. Your celebrant will probably tweak them a little bit so they're not pronouncing you man and wife or husband and husband. They will be announcing you as the bride and groom or the bride and bride, for example. So your symbolic wedding ceremony can look, sound and feel very similar to your contracted marriage words, or they can be completely bespoke. Your independent wedding celebrant can write something that is 100% true to you and your belief system, your moral values, your sense of humour, your sense of fun. It can be like a blank canvas. It is your wedding. They say your wedding, your day, your way. Destination weddings. A lot of people nowadays are deciding to contract their legal marriage in their own country, and then once they've got the legalities out of the way, they're then having their dream wedding ceremony without the stress of any of the legalities in a destination wedding location. So can you see how separating the marriage from the wedding is beginning to open up all these possibilities to you? It's wonderful. Now, I don't want to confuse you, because depending where you go in the world, your independent celebrant might actually have the authority to legally marry you. But do check. Australia, for example, that's the first example that comes into my head. The celebrant there can actually officiate your marriage as well as your wedding. In many states in America, it's the same as well. So do check. If you are in any doubt, contract your marriage at home before you leave, and then you can have your symbolic wedding ceremony in the full knowledge that all the legalities have been taken care of. So, marriage is the contracted legals, wedding is the ceremonial celebration. The registrar is the person who contracts the legals, the celebrant is the independent officiant, if you like, of a wedding blessing or a symbolic ceremony. Don't forget that registrars can offer you a wedding ceremony. So if you do want to have the two together, if you want your marriage and your wedding on the same day, but you don't want it to be a religious affair, then you can approach your registrar and they will be more than happy to perform a wedding ceremony for you. It could be that you want it in the register office, or it could be that you want to go to an approved premises recognised by the local authority, and there will be a designated area within that approved premises. Fantastic. Do be aware that your registrar has certain constraints. The registrar can only perform the wedding ceremony at the approved premises, at the designated area within the approved premises. They cannot have any kind of religious content in there at all. They cannot have any alcohol within that designated area an hour before the ceremony. They work for the local authorities, so they have local authority constraints as well as legal constraints. So your independent wedding celebrant does not have any of these. Your independent wedding celebrant can perform your wedding wherever you like. It can be up a mountain, in a palace, in a ruin, in a castle, on a cliff, in your garden, inside, outside, in a barn, in a marquee, a teepee, with wolves, in a palace, wherever. Your independent celebrant can have spiritualist content, rituals, traditions, cultural content, religious content. Your independent celebrant can mix religions, mix faiths, blend cultural rituals. The independent celebrant is just very versatile and can create a completely bespoke ceremony for you. So whereas the registrar can perform the legal marriage and can perform a wedding ceremony for you, they will have certain constraints. Your celebrant cannot perform in the UK, outside of Scotland anyway, a marriage that is legally recognised, but they can perform the symbolic element, the ceremonial part of your wedding without any constraints. So marriage is the contract, wedding is the ceremonial part, the registrar has legal constraints, the celebrant is completely independent and totally flexible. Hopefully that's cleared those up for you. A couple of things about destination weddings while I'm here, why not? A destination wedding does not have to be expensive. There are lots of places that are open to destination weddings for a far greater period of the year than you might imagine. Don't just think of summer. Do your research. Check out the weather of your chosen destination wedding location for spring and autumn and winter. because you might find that if you can go outside of the summer season, then you can have a far cheaper wedding. Not only will the flights be cheaper, but your chosen venue might be cheaper as well. Also, have a look at the timing of your wedding. Your wedding doesn't have to be at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because if, for example, you have a wedding where I live at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's one of the hottest times of the day, and that can be super sweltering and very uncomfortable for your guests. So if you have a word with your venue, if you do some research, you might consider a morning wedding or an evening wedding. I mean, what's more romantic than having a sunset photo after your wedding ceremony? Beautiful. Also, think about weekday weddings. Weekdays are often cheaper than weekend weddings. So again, flights can be cheaper. The venue may charge less for a weekday wedding. It's definitely worth considering. What about your photographer and your suppliers and wedding planners? I have a lot of questions about those. I would definitely consider a wedding planner or an event organizer at your chosen location. These people will speak the language of your destination wedding location, so they will be able to communicate with your suppliers for you. And a lot of the time they already have great deals going with their suppliers because they use them on a regular basis. They trust them, they know the quality is good, and they can get better prices for you. So yes, you may have to invest a little bit of money in a wedding planner, but you might find your wedding planner is saving you money in the long run, and you will get a quality standard. The wedding planner has a reputation to uphold. What about destination wedding photographers? Should you take your photographer with you from home, or should you rely on somebody in the country that you're going to? Two schools of thought here, and again, it's a balance. You have options. Your local wedding photographer can get to know you. They can get to understand you and the vibe that you want from your photographs. Downside is you're going to have to pay for that photographer to go with you to your destination wedding, pay for their expenses and accommodation, and they might not be familiar with the area, so they might actually not know the secret locations and the little corners and romantic spots. They might not be familiar with the light of the area that you're going to, which is very, very important. Your destination wedding photographer, who's actually on the spot and who lives there, will know the light conditions. If you're having a beach wedding, for example, the light is incredibly intense when it reflects off the sea. If you're having a destination wedding in a little whitewashed village somewhere, again, the light is incredibly intense. So you do need a photographer that not only understands you and gets your vibe, but is used to the light conditions. So it's a balance, isn't it? Do you pay for somebody to come with you to your location, or do you trust in the person that's already there? I'll leave that up to you to decide. So we've got a marriage and a wedding. One is the contracted legals, the other is the ceremonial celebration. A registrar and a celebrant, one contracts legals, the other is the independent officiant of a symbolic blessing or ceremony. Destination weddings, have a think about time of year, have a think about time of day, have a think about whether you want weekend or weekday. Little top tip, I've had a lot of, not elopements this year, but micro weddings becoming very, very popular for destination weddings. Micro weddings of about 6 to 8 people, because it gives you so much more flexibility. You all of a sudden have a much wider menu open to you. You have far more venues open to you. You can include restaurants rather than hotels. Photographers love micro weddings because they can spend so much more time with each individual person and really getting all the characters and the VIPs that are involved in your ceremony. So yeah, so much to talk about. Listen guys, if you've got any questions, please just type them into the comments below. I'm very happy to chatter on all day about marriages, weddings, registrars, celebrants, destination weddings in particular. But I don't want to waste your time. I'd rather be specific. So please type in some questions below and I will get back to you with all the answers. So I'm Debbie Skyrme, Celebrant Spain, all one word. Look for me on social media, Celebrant Spain, you'll find me, my website, celebrantspain.es. So I'm Debbie Skyrme and I'm going to sign off for now, but I'll be looking for your comments below. See you soon. Bye.